My fault. Okay, at this time, I'm calling the meeting to order. I'm going to read the guidelines from which we operate. This is a public hearing, and we are the Zoning Board of Adjustment for Putnam County, Florida. We operate under the authority of Articles 11 and 12 of the Land Development Code as amended. The primary responsibility of the board is to hear and decide appeals challenging final determinations made by the Planning and Development Services Department under the Land Development Code, and to hear and act upon requests for variances, special use permits, nonconforming use determinations, and preliminary development plans under the Land Development Code. Today, we only have a special use permit, so I am going to skip the information on a variance. A special use permit is special permission to use property in a fashion in which the zoning classification of the property does not automatically permit. If we grant a special use permit, we may impose reasonable conditions on the use of the property which must be satisfied if the special permit is to remain valid. Unlike a change in the zoning classification, as a general rule, a special use permit applies only to the specific use requested in the application for special use permit. The standards we use in deciding whether or not to grant a special use permit are listed in Section 45-1083 of the Land Development Code. Procedurally, we will call each case by name and number. A member of the staff will then briefly explain to us the nature of each request. We will then take any comments from the applicant or their representative, followed by any public comments concerning the request. Please direct all comments or statements to the board and not to other people in the audience. Before speaking, we will ask each person to be recognized, come forward to the lectern, and identify his or herself by name and address. After all persons wishing to speak have been heard, we will entertain a motion from the board. This motion will be voted on by the board members and become our final order. Any decision made by this board can be appealed to the circuit court. However, any appeal must be filed within 30 days after the Board of Adjustment has rendered the final order which is being appealed. Are there any questions? Before the first case is heard, all of those wishing to speak need to be sworn in. So will the notary please administer the oath? Okay, our first case is special use permit 22-005.
Good afternoon, board members. For the record, Zachary Baker, Planning and Development Services. Today we will be hearing about special use permit case number 22-005. The applicant for this application request is Putnam County. The location is an unassigned address. Parcel number is 020926, string of zeros, 0020, string of zeros. The location is approximately 1.5 miles west of US Highway 17 and approximately 2.5 miles north of Rice Creek. The future land use for the proposed location is public facilities, and the zoning district is a planned unit development. While we're on that note, there is an error in the staff report. Page 7, under staff's conclusions and recommendations, it states that we are addressing an agricultural zoning district. That is, of course, planned unit development instead.
Would you please speak a little closer to the mic because you are not very loud?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
The background on this project, the subject parcels totals 315.11 acres. The applicant is requesting a special use permit to develop a new communications tower to support the county's EMS program. LDC section 45-172 requires all new communications towers to have an approved special use permit unless the new tower is an expansion of an existing tower and the new tower height does not exceed 20 feet of the original tower height. Also, county's legal counsel advised the issuance of a special use permit was necessary as the planned unit development does not expressly list communications towers as in the reference code. The proposed communication tower meets all other applicable requirements of Land Development Code section 45-172. This is the general location map for the proposed development. The little X in the southeast corner of the highlighted parcel is the approximate location of the proposed communications tower. This is an aerial showing surrounding developments. To the left is the CDD landfill, Northeast Environmental, and south out of the frame is the Putnam County landfill. This is the zoning district of the proposed development parcel, as well as the surrounding parcels. This map shows the future land use of the proposed development parcel, as well as surrounding parcels. This map shows the FEMA flood zones. As indicated by this map, the proposed development will be in flood zone X. And this is a wetlands map for the proposed parcel. Again, there's no wetlands within 25 feet of the proposed location of the tower. Per section 45-1083 of the Land Development Code, the ZBOA is to evaluate the application and make a determination based on specific findings of fact provided to you in your staff reports. Additionally, LDC Section 45-172, subsection H, provides for additional issuance criteria so that no special use permit for a communications tower shall be issued unless the Zoning Board of Adjustment makes the additional findings of fact provided to you in your staff reports. Upon approval of the special use permit, the applicant will be required to meet all requirements set forth in the Land Development Code and any conditions that may be added by the zoning board, including but not limited to the completion of the development review process prior to the issuance of any building permits. Therefore, staff recommends approval subject to the following conditions as required in part by LDC Section 45-172, subsection J1. Every 10 years from the completion of construction, the owner of the tower shall submit a structural engineering report signed and sealed by a Florida engineer detailing the condition of the tower, its bearing capacity, and its current load. Prior to the issuance of a final development order by the Development Review Committee authorizing the project, a copy of the determination form, Form 7460-2 or the equivalent, from the Federal Aviation Administration, stating that the proposed communication tower will not be obstruction or a hazard to air navigation. Any questions?
Okay. Any questions?
I've got one question, not about this one here.
Okay.
Several years ago, the county put up a communication tower out on 308 on county property across the road from the landfill. It's not a landfill, it's just a trash dump out there now. We had just approved one or two communication towers just before this. I'm driving by there one day and here's this tower going up. I asked why wasn't there an SUP on that? Well, it's county property, it's a county tower, they don't need an SUP. Okay. So now here we come up, we've got one.
So the Land Development Code, the current regulations for communications towers does not exempt county properties from having one. And then furthermore, the planned unit development, which regulates the allowed uses for this proposed property, it does not include communications towers. So just to make sure we were checking all the boxes, so to speak, we wanted to make sure that there was an SUP issued for this tower.
So to elaborate on that, the planned unit development does specifically address public facilities, but doesn't specifically call out a communications tower. But regardless, whether it's in a PUD or any other zoning that's assigned, whether it's county property or not, it's required to go through your special use permit approval process. I can't speak to why a previous one wasn't required to go through it, but I can tell you that there is a requirement for it.
It's there.
Any other questions for
I
staff?
do have a question. Previously on these cell towers, we have required that the towers be constructed in such a manner that they will support more than one carrier. Will this fall under that same heading?
That they will support more than one
They will
area?
have to be constructed in such a manner that they can carry more than one carrier.
Oh, I see.
That has
There
always
is-
been a condition on the cell towers.
So there's a co-location requirement in the Land Development Code. But the applicant has expressed, the engineer that's working on behalf of the county has expressed that they cannot accommodate the height that's necessary for this tower on the surrounding tower, which I think is within, I think, maybe a little over a mile. I'd have to look at the report again, but so now, given that this is county property and it's dedicated for emergency purposes, it's not exactly recommended that there be other carriers on this tower.
Okay.
Any other questions for staff? Okay, thank you. All right, at this time, before we hear from the applicant representing the county, I'd like to do a site visit roll call, please.
Yes, and thank you for the green sign.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, at this time, Mr. J.R. Grimes, would you like to come and address the board? And I have a question for, as far as the address. Would he be listed for the standpoint of the emergency services address rather than his own personal address? Because usually we ask them to give their name and address for the record.
Right. If Mr. Grimes's address is exempt from public record, then he would not have to provide it.
Okay, well, I was just thinking maybe he would give the address where he works then. But, yes, okay.
Normally, it's the place of your residence, but if it is exempt, then he wouldn't have to provide
Okay,
it.
that's fine with me.
J.R. Grimes, Executive Director of Public Safety, 410 South State Road 19, Palaca, Florida.
There you go.
Just to kind of keep everybody in line, the existing tower that we currently use is at the Seminole Electric Power Plant that the county has leased for many, many years. It's a 400-foot guided tower that's currently there. When they went to go redo the microwave links for our new 700 and 800 megahertz radio system, nobody will climb the current tower. So it doesn't matter what we do there. Either we got to replace the tower that's there or construct another one. So we thought it would be easier with access trying to get into power plants. You know, sometimes it's easier just to go across the street where the county owns all the property and we're not trying to lease space. So we selected to move over to the landfill. The current tower construction is a 300-foot. Right now it's a self-supporting tower. We're hoping we can do that without having to do a guided tower, which takes up more real estate. Hopefully it can come into budget numbers with a self-supporting tower. There's nothing fancy on it. To answer your question, Mr. West, we do have one of our communications towers that does have a cell provider on it. That's in San Mateo. But that is the only one of our current 5 towers that does have a cell provider on it. Now, the statewide emergency radio system does have what it's called SLURS, has a site at our tower at Huntington. So, but most of the time the towers are built, they can handle more antennas than what you put on them. And we'll get an engineer calculation on what it can hold at the end of it. So, and when the specifications are written, I'm sure it could hold more than one carrier. But right now the only primary carrier it's going to be on will be our emergency, which includes fire rescue, sheriff's office, Ride Solutions is on there. St. John's Water Management has some equipment on the current tower. As a matter of fact, the National Weather Service is on the current tower. So there is multiple other agencies that are on our current tower, and we just got to figure out which one of them wants to move to the new location.
Sir?
Can I ask a question? I mean, this is great and everything, I understand that, but it doesn't do any good if they can't get a hold of you. I mean, there's places in Putnam County where cell service is nil. And it just, I mean, you can get a hold of, but how do I get a hold of you, is what I'm saying.
Sure, I mean,
We need to work on these other towers too, because like I said, if they can't get a hold of you, this doesn't do any good at all.
right. I mean, if we had a vendor that came to us, I mean, we have a vendor that came to us in San Mateo and they were able to put their equipment there. I mean, they may come to us and want to put their equipment at the new tower. I can't answer that question because right now we don't have any vendors looking that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Are you still going to be using the tower that's at Seminole?
No, ma'am, because they won't climb it to put the microwave equipment to link the towers together. So that one right now is not microwaved in with all of the other existing towers around the county. It's kind of a standalone facility right now. So it's not linked in with all the rest.
Will anybody be using it?
I doubt it. It's probably going to come down. But it's on private property. It's at some point, I think it's our tower, but it's on private property. So at some point, we're probably going to be removed and taken down.
Any other questions for Mr. Grimes? I understand that there's Chris Monzigo on standby. If there are any comments.
Called me and said the Zoom meeting never got started.
It never got started? Oh, okay.
So I told him I said just stand by your phone in case there's really some in-depth technical questions about the construction of a tower.
Okay.
And I told him he said call him on the phone and he could absolutely answer any questions if I
Okay.
wasn't able to answer it for you.
Using a record
Madam
set.
Chairman,
Jacob.
Yes, sir.
I just, it's not a question, it's just, it is kind of sort of, but I just kind of want to make everything, I mean, there seems to be a little confusion, but this is not a public tower. It is a government tower for emergency services, and it's for the radios in your ambulances and fire trucks, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
Every hip of a police officer, every police officer car that's out there, every fire truck, every ambulance is going to use this communications tower.
Right.
Okay. All right, thank you. All right, any other questions for Mr. Grimes? Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
At this time, we'll close the meeting to the public. Oh, I need to ask. What? Not yet. Is there anyone else in the audience wishing to come forward and speak in favor of or against this application? Since there's no one in there, then we will close the meeting.
Wait a minute, Mr. Harrington
We'll close
just
the
walked
meeting
in.
to the public and open it up for board motion and discussion.
Madam Chairman, I move we approve special use permit 22005 as the request meets the criteria for a special use permit as required by Section 451083 of the Putnam County Land Development Code with the two conditions recommended by staff, and authorize the chairman to sign the final order.
Second.
We have a motion and second to approve special use permit 22-005. Any further discussion? If none, all of those in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Motion carries 7-0. Mr. Grimes, good luck in your endeavor. Of course, there is a 30-day appeal process, but we'll work with that if it appears. All right, thank you. Okay, the next, is there any old business that we need to attend to? Any new business?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
I said, any old business or any new business that we need to address today?
No, ma'am, just the approval of the minutes.
Okay, right. All right, now, the next thing is approval of the minutes for May 18th, 2022.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes.
Second.
All right, all in favor? We have a motion and second to approve the minutes of May 18, 2022. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Nothing else? Then how about a motion to adjourn?
Move we approve, adjourn.
You move we approve the adjournment?
Approve the adjournment. Okay, all right, we're adjourned. Thank you very much.